Hey everyone, it's What's the Point 1000 with a very quick little video on, a handful of records. I got this new MacBook. I've just got it this weekend, and I just wanted to try the video quality, the sound, and I thought I'll just make like a 10-minute video or something, and I'm sure some of you will enjoy that. And I'm just sitting here in front of my box of records so that I have to drag them around to the other side of the room. Just a bit of change of scenery for once. And I'm going to title this video Inspiration Information. It's not a revolutions video, it's just a little an in-between. Maybe it could be a new series with really short videos called Inspiration Information. That's the name of a Shuggy Otis track, an album that I really love too. And the reason I'm calling this Inspiration Information is because the information is here, and I've been inspired. So I've been reading this book, Love Goes to Buildings on Fire by Will Hermes. 5 years that changed music forever. 5 years in New York that changed music forever. And you could argue that New York between 1973, 1978, you could even go to the early 80s, 81, 82. There is not a single place or era in time where there's more cross-pollinating, there's more musical advancements, there's more, like, it was just such a fertile ground. And I'm reading this book and I'm sort of halfway through, and it's really good when you've got a book like this where you've got the records and you just want to pull them out and play them. I was going to make a video on Australian jazz, Melbourne jazz, which I've got in my box here, but it's been sort of hijacked by my reading of this. And so I just want to show you some records that I pulled out just for fun, It's nothing groundbreaking, but I think, we have record collections and they're filled with really great records, and we often sort of leave them there and buy new ones, and it's really good to remind yourself that you've got a great collection in front of you, and you don't necessarily need to buy more records. Case in point, one of the artists that is most talked about in this book is Patti Smith, obviously. And so it made me want to play Horses again. What a great record. Just and Will Hermes describes even to the point when this shot was taken. It's very interesting. Obviously, she was a very key figure in those days. If you've never heard Horses, it's never too late. It's a band that featured also Lenny Kaye, the compiler of Nuggets, and Gloria and Redondo Beach and Birdland and Elegy. I think the last song is Elegy. Very, very, very good album, key album. And at the same time, in 1975, with almost the same sleeve, we have Born to Run. In fact, they are so well, beautifully matched together. And this is the only Springsteen album that I've still got in my collection, which I'll keep because I like some of the songs. It's not something that I would listen to very often, but I think it has its place in musical history. With Springsteen, what bothers me the most is his voice. I just don't know. It just doesn't really grab me. But musically, it's a very accomplished. And again, the book talks about how difficult it was to record this album, very grueling sessions, and how he spent 16 hours with Clarence, what's his name? Clarence Clemens, getting the sax right for Born to Run, and very, very interesting little story. And staying with 1975, another New York classic from 1975, which I hadn't played for a long time, was Blood on the Tracks. One of the key albums in the Dylan discography. And whilst I was there, I pulled out the bootleg sessions, which I've got on CD, bootleg CD, the New York sessions, which are quite different versions to this. But this is really, after the great sort of, you could say a trilogy of the 1960s with Highway 61 Revisited and Blonde and Bringing It All Back Home. That's kind of classic Dylan trilogy. I think this is the second great Dylan. I don't know if it's a trilogy, but Desire, Blood on Tracks, and the Basement Tapes maybe are another kind of great sort of trilogy of Dylan. And if you've never heard this album, then do yourself a favor. Idiot Wind, what a great song. And so, in the book, it just goes into CBGBs, that scene, and obviously, it talks a lot about, the interrelations between Patti Smith and Tom Verlaine, who she was wildly in love with when you read the book. And this is one of the best albums ever made, really. I mean, without question, a long time favorite. And I can say that I was lucky enough to see this band, well, minus Richard Lloyd, obviously, but this band play television, Marquee Moon in full, from start to finish, in 2013 it was, and it made a very big impression on me. To listen to these guys play See No Evil, or Venus de Milo, or obviously the title track. The book also goes into minimalism in New York, because it was a very important time for that. With Steve Reich, so I was playing six marimbas. Beautiful minimal music, very repetitive. But you can zone out to this kind of stuff. And I also pulled out desert music, which really is one of the most underrated Steve Reich records. I mean, everybody talks about music for 18 musicians, but I reckon this gives it a run for its money. The desert music. This is from much later, but it's not. I don't necessarily play the records in the order that the book names them, but this one here is something that the book goes into as being like a raving disaster when it was played live one of the first times, and people starting just shouting at Steve Reich and and going crazy and trying to hijack the stage. Yes, this is a bit less accessible. I guess it's more drony, it's more repetitive, it's got a more sort of abrasive quality. But nonetheless, I think that these are still essential recordings. The book goes a little bit into jazz as well. I haven't pulled out that much jazz, but I felt like revisiting a little bit of like that sort of period Miles Davis. The book talks about Agatha and Pangea, which I've got, but I just felt like playing Dark Magus, which is an amazing live album, really, with a quite different lineup from the normal. With Dave Liebman on tenor sax, Asa Lawrence is on there, Reggie Lucas on guitar, Michael Henderson on bass, and James M. Toomey on percussion, and Al Foster on drums. A really great lineup, but quite different. and this is, you know, like sort of psychedelic, Electric Mars, really sort of forward thinking, and yeah, a great album. The book also goes into a bit of, you know, Strata East, another great New York label, founded by Stanley Cale and the name will come back to me, Charles Tolliver. And if there's maybe one really iconic title on that sort of catalogue, it probably is Winter in America, which starts with the ominous and sort of melancholic peace go with you, brother, but you know, with the bottle and Watergate Blues, Winter in America, a beautiful record. And it also talks about, this is the record I was playing just before, it also talks about Fania. So I was just playing Willy Colon, really, really iconic, and with its sort of a, you know, I don't know if it's the Brooklyn Bridge there, I think it is, and the Mafia reference, Cosa Nuestra, which is the Spanish for Cosa Nostra, which is the Mafia, really. Recorded by Johnny Pacheco, the guy who founded Fania Records. Huge scene in New York with Salso and Fania, and this is a, you know, like an essential really piece in the sort of Latin jazz catalog, you know, canon. This one I pulled out, but I haven't played yet, but I will. It's a Ray Barreto. This is monster funky. This, especially side 2. Side 2 is like, it's a mind blower. It's everything I love about music. It's daring, it's forward, it's dynamic, it's funky. And I'll finish with a couple of records, a couple of rock records, Slow Dazzle. And John Cale, you know, he's Welsh obviously, but he was a very, very important figure on the New York City. He produced Horses, and played in the Velvet Underground, obviously, and you know. And this album here has got some of his best songs, like Mr. Wilson, and the cover of Heartbreak Hotel may just be the greatest cover I can think of. You know, just like for a cover version, what you get from this is amazing. Guts. And I'll finish with the supremely iconic Ramones 1976 on Sire. What to say, huh? You know, every song's a hit. Blitzkrieg Pop and Judy's a Punk, I think, is one of my favorites. I Want to Be Your Boyfriend, which I love. Like, probably one of the first Ramones songs I've ever heard. Of the Ramones. We'll finish with those. A short little video for you. I hope you enjoyed. Until I make another more, you know, maybe a meteor one. Okay. Look after yourselves. Take care. And, you know, talk to me.